Hey, it's Tweeter's Digest, this podcast of Twitter. Episode 5 Brooke Wanted to Be a Donkey. Hey, Brooke, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yes, same here. So before we get into the stuff, first I would love to know, what have you been up to lately?
I have been working on Vibe Camp. We are, I think, about 2 weeks from go time. So I've been pretty busy with logistical things and tying up all the loose ends. And I think we're pretty close to being ready to go.
You said Vibe Camp?
Yes, that's VIBECAMP, all one word. It is just I've been describing it as like an event, kind of a festival for extremely online nerds. Generally for what we've been referring to as this part of Twitter, like anybody who hangs out in like the general spread of Twitter communities that I've been hanging out in.
Fascinating. Okay. I'm curious, bearing in mind this will be released next Friday, about 1 week before Vibe Camp. Is there anything you'd want attendees to keep in mind or just know, 1 week out?
Oh gosh, I wasn't prepared for those kind of questions. I mean, we've been keeping up with communication pretty well through the Discord server and our email blasts and the Twitter account. There's lots of channels of communication open. I think we've been pretty good about letting people know stuff. We've got a few more decisions to make along the lines of like code of conduct and last minute notes we'll be giving to people. But off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
Okay, cool. Let's get into your tweets then. So on August 4th, 2020, you tweeted, "I have so many questions and so few answers. Life is so much fun."
Oh, that's an old one. I do feel like that generally reflects my current state of mind as well.
Yeah, I noticed looking through your tweets, you asked a lot of questions, or maybe, I mean, you still do, but more so when you were first, I think, posting back in 2020. Yeah, this kind of like adorable phrasing where you'd be like, Twitter, like addressing the whole bird site, then proceed to ask your question. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I kind of called those my Twitter questions. I just kind of like became a thing that I did. I have really stepped back, as you noted, on the asking questions thing. It's become a little bit less manageable as my account has grown because what I enjoyed about doing that was interacting in the replies with people's responses, and it's become much more difficult for me to like individually internalize whatever each response and respond to them, giving it the time and attention that I would like to. So that's why those aren't happening quite as much anymore.
Yeah, that is a dilemma as an account grows. There's good and bad with growing, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I was also curious from this, what questions have been on your mind lately?
I hmm. I mean, my mind has been so just full of Vibe Camp lately. It's really kind of become an obsession. So most of my questions are like logistical, like how do I set up event lighting? And then I Google it. But I did have a question about, I just the other day I tweeted about what imposter syndrome felt like for people because I kind of realized I'm not sure if that's really been much of a factor in my life. Um, I can't think of any off the top of my head that I've thought and then not tweeted about.
So you said you haven't really felt imposter syndrome, so you've always felt like you belonged in whatever group or organization or community you were a part of, just all throughout your life?
I don't know if I would phrase it that way either. I think it's more that when I haven't felt really a part of and that's actually very very rare for me. I rarely feel like, oh yes, I am a full-fledged member of this is part of my identity. I've like switched between identities a lot, always pretty much. I mean, since high school I was I was like a punk kid for a while, and then I was a hipster like scene kid, and I was an anarchist for a while, and I like traversed a lot of different subcultures, but I never really felt like they were my identity. So maybe that's part of it. It's harder to feel. Maybe it's less likely that you're going to feel a sense of shame around not belonging if you don't feel like it's your identity anyway.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. Like lightly holding onto different group identities seems like a good counter to, potential imposter feelings. That's cool. Yeah, I remember I saw some picture of you in like a yearbook, maybe like you're just wearing a full like ninja outfit. I just want to mention that just came to mind.
With don't forget the bearded dragon. I had Herbert on my shoulder. I brought him to school with me that day.
You're like a sitcom character. But you've always been that bitch, I guess. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I finally found a home now with other weirdos on the internet.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. It's great. We've all found each other. Yeah, let's go on to your next tweet. On August 13th, 2020, you tweeted, Twitter. What's the silliest slash weirdest game you played as a child, made up or not? So what's yours?
I used to like I never really played Pokemon games, but I had a friend, this is probably junior high ish. We would run around our house and like make up Pokemon. Like I didn't really know how to play it, but we would just like LARP Pokemon and be like, I pillow monster, and then throw a pillow. And you have to make up what kind of like monster you were or Pokemon you were. We also would like act out like Matrix scenes and jump on couches a lot. I don't know if that counts. That's not very young childhood. That's kind of like I was a little bit old to be doing those things, but it's very, very fun. What about you?
Me, I this is so like spectrumy, but I used to for fun alphabetize words by letter in my head. So as an example, Brooke is Bekoor. So you put the letters of a word in alphabetical order, and that was a
Wow.
fulfilling, fun activity as a kid.
Wow.
um, my friends and I too did the Pokemon thing. We would speculate about Pokemon being real in the future, which it kind of is with Pokemon Go. But we were very much in the growing up with it sort of phase. We were very much into it, the games themselves. I was so sure you'd have all these crazy, like whatever random Brooke, childhood Brooke like thingies, but you grew into your eccentricities, it seems like.
I mean, I could tell you weird things about my childhood. I once, this is one of the more like, okay, Brooke was a weird kid stories. I used to live in Santa Rosa. There was a harvest festival every year, and they had a parade, and they would choose like two teenagers, a boy and a girl, to be the king and queen, or the prince and princess, maybe. And then they chose two little kids to be Lily Lemon and Oran Orange, and they would do kind of like a personality contest thing. And so my mom had me try out for that. I was 3 and most of the girls were 4. And for the initial round, they went through and asked you questions such as like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they go down the line and all of these girls, I want to be a princess, or I want to be Princess Jasmine. And they get to me and I've got like super curled blonde hair, my little foofy dress, and I yell out, I want to be a donkey. And when they asked me why, I got down on my hands and knees and started kicking my legs up in the air to demonstrate why I wanted to be a donkey, because I wanted to kick people. I obviously won, so I was Lily Lemon and got a ride on the float that year.
Oh, was was this by popular vote? Were you chosen? Was it just a vote for you to be the?
I think the judges were choosing. I don't really have very many clear memories of it. It's kind of just become like this mythical family story at this point.
Yeah, you were 3.
I do have VHS tape of that somewhere that I could probably dig out someday.
I wonder if there'll be VHS players at Vibe Camp. Just random thought. Wow. Yeah, that's incredibly on brand. In my opinion.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow. Did you go back next year, try and like, have a repeat for your crown? Or were you challenged? Did you try again?
I don't think so. I'm
Hmm.
not sure why, but I don't think I tried for a second year.
Hmm. Wow, that's
Oh, yeah.
sorry, just like visualizing it. It's very funny visualization for me. Great. All right. Let's go to your next tweet. On September 19th, 2020, you tweeted,
Hi, what's your favorite sound? And do you have any pets? And what's your favorite kind of fruit? And what's the weirdest thing you've ever done involving boats? If you've done anything involving boats. What's the weirdest thing you've done in the last week? And what is the most surprising thing you've learned this week? And what are your thoughts on miniature pigs miniature goats.
That's it.
That was a response. That was a reply to somebody. I remember that one.
Yes, Snufkin tweeted, "I want to make a tweet so people talk to me in the replies," and that was your reply.
Yeah, I was kind of trying to do the as random as possible thing. But yeah, that was pretty fun. I like playing with mediums and like having not just text.
Yeah, and it was quite random. You succeeded there, so I wrote down all the questions. We can go through them. What's your favorite sound?
Water. It's just, I mean, all the different types of water, rain and waterfalls and ocean and drops and puddles and jumping in puddles.
What about like drinking water? The sound of someone.
Oh, ooh, good point.
Mm-hmm. Got to poke holes in your
So
argument.
almost all the different,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, almost all the different types of water.
Someone being waterboarded. The drops on the forehead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Water. Of those all those water sounds, is there a top one? If you could only live with one of them, which one would be your favorite?
I mean, probably rain.
Yeah.
Rain is very comforting sounding.
Yeah, it is very soothing.
Do you have a favorite sound?
Is a song a sound? Does that count?
I mean, I think you can answer the question however you want to answer it.
Because lately it's been a song, Graves by Churches. It's got this beautiful pre-chorus where she just like lets loose and belts it out. It's very beautiful to me.
I like Churches. I did not. I mean, I kind of assumed that was how you pronounced it, but I've never said it out loud because I'm afraid that like V is like.
Yeah. Maybe it is Chiverches. I don't actually know.
So good.
Yeah. Do you have any pets?
I have 2 cats. My parents have 2 dogs and 2 African sulcata tortoises. And I'm staying with my parents now, so they're kind of like around a lot.
Whoa, 2 tortoises. Do you know how old they are?
They are 6 or 7 years old. They're huge already, and they're not anywhere close to their full size. I think African sulcata tortoises are the 3rd largest tortoise species in the world, if I'm not mistaken. These guys will probably live to be over 100, and I think they get to be like 180 pounds, but I may be mixing some of those numbers up.
Curious how big they would get, just large around they get, like bird's eye view.
Oh gosh, yeah, I don't know full size. These ones right now are probably 2-3 feet lengthwise. They're pretty big, maybe bigger. No, actually, no, might be bigger than that. I'm so bad at like spatial whatever that's called. I'm not a shape rotator.
I was gonna say it if you didn't. What's your favorite kind of fruit?
I think that varies. Like it kind of depends on what mood I'm in or what I'm craving. But it was a favorite kind of fruit, right? Not berries or anything. Are berries a fruit? Oh my gosh, I am.
I think fruit is correct. Let's not look it up and just say we're right.
Yeah. Maybe. Why is this so hard? Oh my goodness. I'm gonna go with apples just because that's what I've been craving lately. But that is definitely not like a forever answer.
Yeah. Apples are the classic. Do you know like the types of apples? I never know like Granny Smith from whatever. I can't even name another variety. Do you know like your favorite variety of apple?
I don't remember. I feel like I recognize it whenever I'm at the store. Maybe Ladyfinger? Maybe?
Ooh, great name. What's the weirdest thing you've ever done involving boats? If you've done anything involving boats.
I worked with some friends because I have lived and worked on boats before. So that's an easier answer for me. But I worked with some of my crewmates. I was a commercial salmon fisherman, and we tried to rig up, it was unsuccessful, but we tried to rig up catapults to launch jellyfish at other boats. But you only really want to do that if you're legitimately like trying to go to war with people because they sting.
Right. So why did y'all do that?
We were stuck on like 50-foot boats for 3 months at a time and going out of our minds a little bit.
Oh, these were all like ally boats, like friendly, like they would be okay with having jellyfish just flop onto the deck.
I mean, they were our friends. It was a decent population of people who were like around who were around my age. And so if we were trying to be snarky, we would, well, it was never successful. I did sometimes throw jellyfish at people on my boat, but that was like, you can't even really be mad at people because they do really hurt and they can make your face swell up and stuff.
Yeah, what like do you wear gloves to like make sure you don't get stung or anything? Like how do you protect yourself?
Yeah, you wear full like protective rain gear, boots and gloves and all the stuff. And sometimes, like, especially during August, you start getting a lot more jellyfish and a lot less salmon, like percentage wise in each net. And sometimes like the salmon will get caught up in like loops of the bag. It'll get twisted up, or I'm sorry, of the net. It'll be twisted up into bags. And so you have like one fish in there that's flopping around and it's surrounded by like 5 or 6 giant jellyfish and it's just spewing jellyfish juice into your face. So when that starts to happen, you got like a hat, a cap on, sunglasses, or like sunglasses, or sometimes even goggles, and then a bandana, and it's still not really enough.
Wow,
Again, yeah,
dangerous. How far were you from like shore usually? Do you know?
pretty close. Salmon, you do it by sight because you can see, the captain can see the schools of fish. And so they generally, it's a lot easier to spot them and put the net around them if they're traveling along the coastline where it's a little more shallow. I mean, they do use other methods too, but a lot of it's done by sight.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. What's the weirdest thing you've done in the last week?
Last week, I don't know that I've done anything very weird in the last week. Oh, I did dress up in my DJ outfit at my parents' Super Bowl party in front of a bunch of old people. I put on my giant combat boots and my cyberpunk bodysuit and this giant feathered headdress that I'm going to be wearing at Vibe Camp for a little bit of Saturday night. And it was just like a bunch of conservative old people. They thought that was pretty weird.
Fair if you don't want to spoil this, but are there like lights involved in the Tron part of this outfit?
There are not, but I did order some UV makeup.
Ooh.
That glows under UV light, and I have not finished ordering lights for Vibe Camp yet, but I do intend to put in a couple black lights in dancing areas.
Sweet. What's the most surprising thing you've learned this week?
I can't tell you on this. I'm not going to say it on the podcast.
I mean,
should I give you a second?
No,
most
like,
surprising thing.
I swear I'll bleep it out. Like, can you tell me right now and I'll just,
Oh, yeah, you can bleep it out.
Yeah.
Is coming to Vibe Camp. Yeah.
Oh man. And you're going to be in Austin at this point in your Airbnb, I think. So people are going to potentially hear this and then be like, whomst.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I love that for you. That is quite the surprise. Brooke, what are your thoughts on miniature pigs, miniature goats?
Miniature pigs are cute. I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on them. Miniature goats are, I've spent more time around miniature goats than I have miniature pigs, and they're pretty fun. My aunt had a couple. She lives up in this, it's in Washington. It's kind of fairly remote. You have to drive through a national campground to get to her house. It's just all lush green everywhere. And when I was a kid, we'd go ride horses down to the campground, and her miniature donkey would follow behind the horses. And then they had 2 miniature goats that would follow behind the donkey. And then their giant goose would come and some of their dogs. And we'd have like this walking petting zoo and just go down to the campground and like let kids pet the goats and everything. And sometimes they would try to jump into people's cars if they had their car doors open, or like if you were sitting down eating chips, I one jump in my lap and stick his head in the chip bag one time and eat chips. They were pretty startlingly fun little dudes.
Mm-hmm. Do they are they good about like not biting fingers, or like do they not know or not care? Do you remember?
I don't know if I remember any serious bites, so maybe they nibble, but I don't remember that ever being a problem.
Which are cuter, goats or pigs then, or miniature for both?
I think miniature pigs are cuter.
Yeah,
just looks wise.
Fair enough. Great round of questions, very random, great answers. Next question. No, next tweet. On May 5th, 2021, you tweeted, "List a work of fiction and tell me one really surprising thing you learned from it that changed your life for the better."
Oh gosh, see, I was not, you're asking me all my questions, which I never had answers for, and we're just like, I just want to hear other people talk. I want like creating connection with people. I can do it though. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Wait, oh, okay. Changed my life. See, most of the books that changed my life for the better have been nonfiction. I'm trying to think of it.
Yeah. Yeah, what comes to mind for nonfiction?
Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism had a big impact on me when I read it in college-ish. To Chogyam Trungpa, I might be mangling his name. I thought that was one of the few books I read where, at least for that time in my life, I couldn't read more than a couple pages at a time. I would get to a point where like I could start reading really quickly, and that meant I knew that I wasn't internalizing any of it. I was just like, you know, words going in and not really any meaning behind it. So I would read a couple pages and then kind of like put it in the background of my head and go about my life for a few days or a week or so. And like over that period of time, I'd like suddenly things that had been said would like make sense in a new context. And it really had a big impact on shaping who I am.
Could you share like, I know there's probably a lot of this, but like just one or a few things from that book that, you know, have stuck with you?
I mean, I don't remember much of it. I did try reading it again recently. I didn't get that far in it. It was about when like the brain fog hit from the long COVID. But I do remember this. There he talks a lot about gurus and what gurus look like. And the book is a series of like lectures or lectures, yeah, that were given at oh gosh, Naropa, I think is what the university was called, the Buddhist University in Colorado, that he was either a founder of or was part of the early years of. And he would show up there in like Western clothing and like jeans and a t-shirt, and these people would come there expecting robes and like really, you know, austere looking monks, and he would try to play with their perception of what a guru could be and the kind of people that you could learn from. And I really appreciated that because I had kind of like had this idea that the people that I looked up to and pedestalized were, you know, that they had to look a certain way, they had to act a certain way. I mean, whether I'm not super big into like Buddhism or other kind of spiritualities, but even in other contexts, you know, with intellectuals, with all sorts of things, I kind of thought you had to act and look a certain way or you weren't worth learning from. And that book really opened, like broadened my idea of like who I could learn from. And now I feel like, you know, I'm not nearly so dismissive of people just because they say or look a certain way, say certain things or look a certain way.
Yeah, it's great. Sort of a takeaway. Yeah. Anything else as far as nonfiction for you?
I mean, there are no examples I could go into. The Zen and the Brain was another really formative book for me that I also need to read again, although it's fairly outdated in terms of the neuroscience, I would imagine. But I don't think that my brain is operating clearly enough to go into a whole lot of detail on that at the moment.
All right. Keep it light, huh? Got it. It's fine. Look, I invite you on, you know, so you can teach me all the essential truths of life. But if your brain's not up for it, it's fine. No, I'm kidding.
I can feel the difference. Like I have recovered a lot from, and you know, I know a lot of people don't believe long COVID is a real thing. All my doctors say that's what it is, but you know, maybe it's something else. I've had some kind of health thing going on and I've recovered a lot from it, but I can still feel the difference. You know, some days it'll be worse than others where it's just like, I know that I know this thing, but right now my brain can't grasp it. And it's a pretty noticeable effect.
Yeah. Wow. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry it's been going on for you.
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm just, please, this is for the audience too. Just please don't think I'm always this dumb. As I've been for last night.
They're deleting their comments right now as we speak. Okay. This is unprecedented for me, but without being asked, I want to share my answer because I was thinking about this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have a fiction one. I was very moved by the book The Outsiders when I first encountered it. I read it in like one night. And that book exposed me to the poem Nothing Gold Can Stay, I think by Robert Frost. It's very beautiful. It's very short. I'll recite it right now.
Please.
Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold, her early leaves to flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief, So dawn goes down today, nothing gold can stay. Yeah, it's a very pivotal facet of the book as far as like the plot and the themes. It kind of holds like what I'm increasingly seeing is like one of the main things to like accept or acknowledge or recall or just like keep in mind as you go about your days, weeks, months, years. And it's phrased different ways in different sources, but basically just like nothing lasts or this too shall pass or nothing gold can stay. Just like things change. That's the essential nature of pretty much anything that's material. So this poem presents it very beautifully. It's very the most impactful presentation of this message that I've encountered. So there it is.
It's very poignant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I just watched a YouTube video like talking about how like nothing lasts. Like I'm starting to see this message everywhere. I know I forget what effect this is, but I just keep seeing it. It's everywhere. It's in the trees. It's on the pavement. It's in the conversation. It's just there. It's ever present. It's
Yeah.
it's water. Yeah, yeah. But yeah. Thanks for sharing. Let us go
Thank
on.
you for sharing.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
That's beautiful.
We'll go on to your next tweet. On July 6th, 2021, you tweeted, "The best learning I've ever done has always been unlearning."
Oh shit. Okay, that one afterwards, I kind of felt like it was a little bit of a shit post
How so?
because I don't know. I hesitate to speak in such absolutes as that. I do think that there, someone brought up in the replies that, there what about a childhood, there is a lot of just novel learning, but I think also there could be an argument to be made that like my tweet was not about, it was more about it's more internal processes and not about learning facts or learning procedures for things, which is kind of how I intended it. But yeah, when I tweet things that are in such absolutes, they are because I thought it sounded good as a tweet usually.
No, I mean this doesn't read to me as absolute at all or prescriptive or anything. You're saying the best learning I've ever done has always been unlearning. It's just you're sharing your experiences. Sounds like.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I tweeted that, what I had in mind were, a lot of the realizations that I had when I was on the street and shortly after getting off the street. And, so much of it was undoing things that I had developed as habits or as thought patterns that were actively harmful for me, rooted in childhood or whenever. And that was the stuff that I think has had the biggest impact and the biggest drive towards me getting to a place where I feel like I'm really thriving now.
Feel free to defer if this is like too personal, but I am curious if you care to share any of the habits or thought patterns as you mentioned that you have unlearned.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different directions I could go with that. The first one that comes to mind, I kind of reached this place of like complete. I don't know. I don't know if I want to use the word surrender because that has spiritual connotations, but there was a point on the street where I knew that I had made bad decisions. I knew I had fucked up somewhere, but I didn't really know where. And I was willing to question even my most deeply held beliefs. I ended up dating somebody that was not the kind of person I would even normally be friends with. He was very angry, mean to people. He was racist. He was shallow. And I was just like, all right, those are not things that I've been attracted to before. Maybe I have just been wrong about everything. And I kind of realized, I mean, I learned these lessons. I mean, this particular one, like about the hardest way you can learn them, but I realized it wasn't my instincts that were the problem. My problem was that I wasn't following them consistently enough. And I had an interesting moment with, I don't know if you saw when you're going through my tweets, but I dug up a bunch of pictures from Alaska that were on an old laptop that was here at my parents' house when I got back here after being on the street. And I had some pictures there that I completely forgot about. They were for some project in high school, and they had little blurbs on them of things I believed at the time. And they were much closer to the person that I am now than the person that I was in my 20s. And so I spent like this whole long arc of like drifting farther and farther from my values and things that I thought were important and the things that I spent time thinking about, and had to kind of like maybe relearn or I had to kind of like undo all that stuff that had happened in the meantime. Also, things like fear has a big role in this. I spent so long afraid of, visibly, publicly making mistakes, of being rejected, of all sorts of things. And And also just I had all these like so many things just seem so obvious in retrospect now. They're just like I don't know. Like I was one of the people who complained about how hard it was to make friends in LA, or I didn't even really complain about it that much. I was just like, yeah, it's hard to make friends in LA. And in retrospect, like I never did anything to try to make friends. I wasn't organizing meetups. I wasn't going to the kind of places where I could meet people. I was taking zero active steps. Of course, it's not going to happen then. And there's just so many things like that now where I'm just like, oh, hey, when did I stop doing that, or did I ever do it? Yeah, it's yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, those are great. Um, the in particular the like that trust your gut thing also seems like one of those more profound kind of like truisms, and like understand like what do I actually believe, value, and cherish versus what was instilled in me from my parents, society, culture, a lover, best friend. Like parsing that out is very important and very difficult. It seems like a sort of
Yeah,
in a way like a
yeah.
never-ending thing. Very glad to hear that's been a successful part of your process.
It's been very fun. I'm having a great time in life.
Hmm. Do you fear anything now?
I have I largely have turned most things that scare me into like fuel, kind of like I don't know, like you live riding a roller coaster or something. Like, oh, this is exciting. It's a challenge. I'm gonna do this. So there is some element of fear there, but it's fear that I feel like I am not getting swept away by.
Love it. Yeah, roller coasters rule. Like,
Yeah, right.
no fear there. Enjoy the ride.
This girl is on fire.
You really are.
What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of anything right now that you would be comfortable sharing?
I'm afraid not. But am I not afraid of anything, or am I not willing to share? I'll never tell. Let's go on to your next tweet. On October 22nd, 2021, you tweeted, I'm honestly not sure I could marry someone who couldn't hold their own in board games against me.
Several words into that, I knew exactly which one you were about to read or in the middle of reading. It's another kind of shit post, actually, absolutely a shit post. I just there was a couple, some friends of the family that were over for board game night at my parents' house, and there was a stark difference in like skill level between them. I mean, it's the first time, both of them, first time playing the game, and one of them was helping the other one with like basic understanding of the rules throughout the entire thing. And I mean, his patience was admirable, but it just made me think back to like the people that I've admired most in my life and the people that I've like felt closest to and wanted to spend the most time with. And I don't think any of those people have struggled like that with like reading and understanding board game rules.
The people you admire can pick up a new board game pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to like critical reasoning. If you can pick up on rule sets in general, I mean, those like, has broad benefits across the spectrum of life.
Yeah, makes sense. What are your favorite board games or kinds of board games?
Diplomacy is my favorite. Are you familiar with it?
No, I did see you tweet about it. Could you give it like a brief overview of what makes that game so favorite?
I would love to. I describe diplomacy as is it's like Risk, but infinitely better is what I usually say about it. It's set in pre-World War I Europe. You have 7 players. They represent the 7 major powers at the time, and they each have only 3 units. And each unit can only take 1 action per turn. Russia has 4 because it's big. But since each one can only take 1 action, that can be moving a place or attacking something, you're just going to bounce off each other. If you're attacking a place that's got 1, they've only got 1, it's just bouncing, nothing happens. So you have to ally with people. And the way the structure of the game works is, and I play a little bit differently. I'll give my version of the game after this. But the way the structure of the game works is you have a period of diplomacy. And I think in the rules it's supposed to be 15 minutes, where you break off and you go talk to other countries, and anything's allowed. You can be like, hey, Russia, will you support me like attacking this place here? And Russia's like, I don't know, you got to write down your moves and show me so that I know you're being like honest here. And they can write down moves and then go make up new ones to hand in. You can, it's kind of like anything goes. And I like to play the game. The most fun I've had with it is like with 14 players instead of 7. So you've got a team, because my games usually last weeks. And that way, if somebody can't show up, you can still play. I like to play it in big houses with lots of rooms. So you can have like, I don't know, like Turkey and Italy are in the bathroom having a secret meeting, and like Germany's outside spying. And then they go and tell England, but they lie about what they heard. And it's got a terrible reputation for backstabbing. And I tried playing once at a board game convention I went to. I was trying to find players the whole time I was there. And everyone's like, oh no, that's the game that destroys marriages. Oh no, we can't play that. And I eventually got them together, and it was the most ridiculously nice game I've ever played. Everyone's like, I am so sorry. I'm gonna like, you see that I don't really have any other options but to invade you right now. I'm so sorry. And I was like, oh no, it's fine. I understand. It's so absurd.
Yeah, like social, like intrigue, deduction-y kind of things. Yeah, very.
Those are my
Yeah,
jam.
they're very gripping. So it sounds like you usually win your games of diplomacy. Is that right?
Oh no. I haven't played in a long time. The last one I tried to play was when I was still pretty sick, and I ended up defaulting because I couldn't pay attention to when the turns were even due. But even when I was young, I mean, like I played one at a convention one time that was like an actual tournament, and I was there against I was playing against like people who worked in politics and things. And yeah, I had been up for 3 days already playing werewolves at night. And I think I had like 9 shots of coffee before I played. And I was just like, I got Russia, which is not super easy. And I was like twitching and shaking. It was bad. I lost very, very badly. Yeah, most of my diplomacy games honestly don't end up finishing. It's just the playing that's fun. We'll go for like weeks, and then people are kind of like, well, it looks like so and so is going to win, or people will lose energy over time or whatever. It's just the playing that's fun.
Yeah, that is the general risk reward calculation of multi whatever day or multi meeting games. Like history is strewn with the corpses of like abandoned D&D campaigns. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Any other favorite games care to mention?
I mean, I do really just the general social deduction category of games. I like a lot. I like werewolves. I like resistance. I play, and this is giving it away for anybody I play board games with in the future, but I play everything like a social deduction game. I played a game of Twilight Imperium, which is this huge, massive, like super complex board game. It took us like 2 hours to set it up. And I've been drinking. I was playing with a couple of my like very, very competitive board gaming friends. And I've been drinking, and it kind of by the time the game started, I was playing up, how drunk I was, just a little bit. I was just having fun. I would lay down, and then I sit up and take my turn and to giggle and lay back down again. And so they were just like, all right, Brooke isn't a threat. And they just focused on each other. And then it got to the point where I was like, all right, I got this. And I sat back up and I destroyed them. And they were mad. They were like really mad for a while about that.
Oh
Like,
wow.
oh, we don't need to worry about the drunk girl.
Mhm. Yeah. Excellent strategy. Yeah. Deception on point.
Are you a board gamer?
Yes. Very much so. Have not forayed into these longer ones. I like Twilight Imperium has a reputation, right? Like, I would love to go for it, but it just takes a commitment that most my friends who could play with me, I don't trust each other to follow through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brooke, that was all I had for you as far as tweets. So before we wrap
Oh,
up, yeah, I just have one last question, which is, what are your favorite things about your Twitter experience?
oh my gosh, so many. I've made so many, like all of my close friends right now, my closest friends I have met through Twitter. I am super excited to have found a community of fellow weirdos where I feel that I can just share like who I am and not, be accepted for it. And I love that I've been able to have an impact on people's lives, to the degree that I have. I get people who message me sometimes like, oh, I saw your photos of having people over to your house. I've started like arranging meetups in my town, or like I'm inspired by what you're doing with Vibe Camp, and I'm going to try to start organizing stuff myself. And I think that can only be really, I mean, a good thing in the world. More connections being made and more people finding their way out of isolation and loneliness. And it's a really exciting thing to be a part of.
Yeah, it is inspiring to see you kind of like take the reins, or demonstrate what you want to see, inspiring others and living out what you think should happen. Like you just basically said, no one's making a vibe camp, I'll do it. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And, every step of the way has just been scaling up things that I want to do. Like whenever I do dating things, I'm like, all right, I don't have a partner. I want to find one. Maybe I should like, tweet this or that. And then like, okay, if I'm looking for it, other people probably are too. So I'll make a dating market like list, or I will collect, I'll make a place for people to post their dating profiles. And like with the meetups, like I was like, all right, I want more friends. I want to meet more people. Like, oh, other people probably want to do this too. Let me scale it up.
Yeah, I did see a tweet of yours, didn't capture it here, but it is along the lines of, you implied that Vibe Camp also functioned as a way for you to, expand your dating market.
Yeah. It's like an ongoing joke in the org team that, yes, but yeah.
Yeah, it's fine for things to be
There are
simultaneous.
multiple layers of purpose.
Yeah, things can be, selfless and selfish. It can be, all parties gain, That's what we want to see as far as different initiatives.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, Brooke. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. This is super fun. It's a good time.
Take care.